D, wait for it, light bulb.
Check out the name tag. You're in my world now, Grandma.
What's up, nerds? So I just finished The Rings of Power, episode 3. And before I tell you what I think about it, and before we get started on this breakdown, I want to say that if you like this show, by all means, have at it. I'm not crap. Let's redo this. Okay. What's up, nerds? So I just finished episode 3 of The Rings of Power. And before I tell you what I thought of it, you probably could tell by the thumbnail. But I just want to say that if you like this show, by all means, have at it. I don't begrudge anybody that likes this show. If you like it, by all means, have at it. What a snooze fest. I started watching this last night when I got home from work because I was like, oh, I need to get it done so I can get it done right away in the morning. Fell asleep because it's boring. It's so boring. There was a fun little action part in here, but I was like, it lasted like a minute. And then after it was done, I was like, okay, but it happens at the end of the episode. So I was like, well, maybe that would have kept me up. And it's just, this is not good writing. It's horrible writing. It's so bad. It's just like they just move. They're like, oh, we're gonna move to the next thing, and then we're just gonna go on to the next one, and then next one, like a MacGuffin. But there's no MacGuffin. Although there is a tiny bit of MacGuffin with the symbol of Sauron, which they find out what it is and everything. But I was so bored throughout this entire episode that I was just like slogging through. I was just like, oh my goodness, can we please move it along? And I just have a feeling that like all the big reveals are going to be nothing. They're just going to be big nothing burgers, or they're just going to be like, and it's gone. So, yeah. And so I just don't understand I just don't understand how people can like this show. I'm not mad at people that like this show. I just don't understand how, because even if this wasn't Lord of the Rings and I was just watching this as just a fantasy show, it's still boring. It's just bad writing. The lines suck. I mean, it's just bad. The wire work is terrible. All right, I'm done enough crapping all of this. Also, I just want to say I'm going to try to go in this with being someone that hasn't read the books, because I was talking to a friend and they're just like, oh, I hate when you say, oh, I've read the books. And I'm like, but I have. I know what happens. I know what, I know all this stuff. I'm like, I know what they made up and what doesn't happen. So it's fine. But before I get started on my breakdown, I just want to say that if you like what I do here and you enjoy independent content here on YouTube, please consider subscribing to my channel. YouTube is always changing up their algorithm, and small channels like mine, we always get shoved to the back of the line. So please ask that you like, share, and subscribe, and I thank you in advance. All right, now let's get on to this breakdown because I have things to say. So it starts off and we find, what's that elf's name? The black guy, the black elf, Eleanor. Which I just want to say right now, I don't care what you say. I don't care what all you Rings of Power nut huggers say. All the elves should have long hair. I don't want to hear any ifs, ands, or buts. I don't care if they're black, white, Asian, whatever. If they are an elf, long hair. Okay, don't give me this crap about the books and all that stuff. I don't want to hear anything. They didn't say they had long hair. I don't care. I want long hair on all the elves. So that's just the end of this conversation. Like, you can tell me what you think about it, but the fact that all these elves don't have long hair annoys me. Okay, so we start off in this little mine, and there's all these orcs, wearing skulls and stuff, because the orcs in this can't go out in the sun because I don't know, because of El Nino or some shit like that. But which is fine. All the orcs, by the way, the orc makeup, the prosthetics in this, they look good. All the orcs look good. I'm not complaining about that. They look good. So they're pulling him along, and they're the ones that this is good. This is good. They captured him the last episode. Remember, we in the trailer, I thought it was the Ints or the Int wives, but nope, it's orcs. So they capture him, and he finds out that he's been they give him a shovel and they're like, dig. And he finds out that all of his elf friends are here from that little outpost. And I was like, oh, they didn't go. They, you know, so he's like, what's going on here? And he sees that there's these mines, these little tunnels. They're not mines, they're tunnels because they've got this little canopy right here. So then, here's screaming, and then Galadriel wakes up, and they're on a Numenorian ship. We find that out later. And Halbrand brings her some food, and she's not eating it because she's like, it could be poison. And he's like, don't worry, it's not poisonous to humans and everything. And I'm just like, oh, this is so friggin' ridiculous. But it's fine. It's fine. Like, that part didn't annoy me as much as it does us saying it out loud. So they go up here, and I just want to say, right here, this doesn't look bad. I go, okay, this looks fine. But I just go, so it's still badly written. Anyways, so this is not Isildur, but his dad. Isildur's dad. Elendil. And he's they keep saying crap like the sea is right, and I'm all like, is it though? Is the sea right? Yeah, and I'm the whole time I'm just like, every time they said that, I was just like, oh, get the hell out of here with that nonsense. Okay, so they're on here, and he's like, we're gonna take you, and she's like, where are you? They're like, where are you gonna take us? And he's like, home. And I'm all like, oh God, could you just say where you're taking them? Can we please stop this nonsense? So, they're saying, and he's got her dagger. Oh, she doesn't like that at all. She is very upset about it. She's like, this motherfucker has my dagger. I'm gonna kill him. So, Elendil takes them to Numenor, the island of Numenor, which is in the books. It's very cool. It would have been nice to see. They have this sun banner. I feel like they should have gone with like a rising or a setting sun. I feel like that would have been more appropriate. But the sun is fine. Them using sun. I'm not complaining about that. I just feel like maybe like a setting sun would have been better. So he's like, where are we? And she's like, there's only one place we can be, the island of Numenor. And then we get this. And you know what gets me is, so we didn't, we actually do travel through the streets, which I'm like, this is good. This kind of stuff you should be doing. But they didn't do that in the Elven City last episode. And I'm all like, that's a bad choice. Also, I missed the dwarves. I liked the dwarves from last episode. So they get off and they're going through the city, and he's like, you don't want to be caught without a gun down here. And I'm like, why? It looks really nice, like Italy, but more, old timey. Yeah, and then he goes back past these what are these called? I can't remember these guys that build metal, these metal workers. Good trade. I wish I knew how to do stuff like this. It's so cool and everything, but I just don't I don't know how to do it. Anyways, okay. The forges, yeah. So they go up to the palace or whatever this is called, and this guard's all like, the Queen Regent is busy. Miriel, which are in the book, it's Tarmiriel, and she is a Queen Regent. And I don't understand why they did this with her, why they picked her, because out of the 20-something kings, there's 3 queens, and they could have chose any one of those 3, but they chose her. I'm like, why? I'm like, I don't get it, because her and Galadriel never met. Sorry, I'll stop that. I'll stop with that nonsense. Okay. So she's all like, she's like, well, why did you bring, there's an elf here or some crap like that. I can't remember. And she looks awful, but whatever. Look at that headdress. That's awful. And she's like, who are you? And she's like, I am Galadriel, commander of the Northern Army. And that pisses her off and everything. I'm like, I'm like, come on, Galadriel, like, you're not a commander. Okay, sweetie. Listen, you can fly around on your bad wire work all you want. Yeah. So they present their thing to them, like, hey, we need to get back home because we need to, we need to go and, I don't know, tell them about Sauron. And she's all like, no, you're going to prison. And then Halbrand's all like, how about you just chill out, give us a couple of days. Look at this guy. I think I saw some. It doesn't matter. Anyways, so he's like, why don't you give us a couple of days to think about our offer? And they do, and I'm all like, but she just told you no. But they let him go, and they just like, and he's all like, listen, this place isn't that bad. Why don't we chill out here for a second, and then we'll take off because you made her mad. Yeah, I really don't remember what else was said here. Oh, okay, so here's Isildur. A very handsome Isildur. So he is working on a ship, and he's I think they said 9 months away from becoming, because they have guilds on here, like they have the iron worker guilds guys, and then they have the sailors guild and everything. So you have to earn your little badge, which we find out later on. And I think it said 9 months away from earning his or from being a part officially of the guild or whatnot. And there he is, very handsome. Look at him with his locks. Oh, and he saves like a friend that gets like launched up in the air, and they're training him or whatnot. And then his sister shows up, and not wearing a bra, by the way. Those are saggy. They're nice though. Anyways, so his sister shows up. Arene, and they flirt with her friends and everything. And then Muriel, she talks about she's like, they said that when the petals of the trees fall, that's the end of Numenor, and it's the tears of the elves or some crap like that. I can't remember exactly what she says. That part I don't remember from the book, so I don't know if it's in there. Anyways, so she's all like, why did you save them? And he's all like, it was the right thing to do, and the sea is always right. And every time he said that, I was just like, is it though? Is the sea always right? Like, because that creature attacked those last people, and I'm like, I don't know if that was a part of the sea or if that creature was just hungry. So she goes to him. She's like, you're going to do something for me. And she gives him a sword. And at first I was like, oh, he's going to have to kill Galadriel. Great. And no, he just needs to keep an eye on her. So we hop over from Numenor. And we hop over to the Southlands, where we see Eleanor here. His name isn't Eleanor. It's Arondir. So which I'm so annoyed that he doesn't have long hair, all of them. So they're sitting here, and they're like, we can't go forward because this tree is, they're like, listen, we're going to attack. We need to attack, but we need to do it when the sun is the highest in the sky and the brightest, so that because they don't like the sun. And then they're like, what are you doing? And they're like, we can't move this tree. This tree's in our way. And they're like, cut it down. And he's all like, this tree has been here hundreds of years before you. It's earned its place on the earth. And this guy comes out, and he's like, he's all like, that's another thing. They like go into this thing where like the orcs have to be like cut it down, and you're like, why are you doing? Stop that! Stop! This isn't an Ozzy Osbourne concert. You guys don't need to whatever. Anyways, so he's like, I like this one. He's earned himself and his mates a drink. Here, you want some water? And they're like, it's poison. And he's like, oh, you gotta be thirsty. So he drinks. Okay, so I have a real quick story. Okay, so fraternity wise, you get hazed and stuff. Okay. So, one of the things, that you had to do was, you just basically had to like dig one day and dig. I mean, never mind. I'm not going to tell the story. Anyways. So he's like, you gotta be thirsty. Matthew, cut that out. Cut that out. Anyway. So he's like, you gotta be thirsty. So he drinks, and it's not poison. So then the rest start drinking. And this guy, as soon as he drinks, he slices him. And they're all like, yeah, and everything. I'm like, oh, gosh. Okay. Well, it's fine. This is, by the way, very good prosthetics here. Very good. I like it. And it's like, my friend died. And they're kind of like, he's dead. So he's like, I'll cut it down. So he starts cutting down the tree. And they're like, pull it up by the roots and everything. So then back on Numenor, they lose Galadriel because she's parkouring it. Parkour through the streets of Numenor. And I'm like, oh, get the fuck out of here. This is so obnoxious and annoying. She makes her way, and she sees this little skiff, and he pops up, and he's like, you wouldn't make it out of the bay, let alone to Middle Earth, on a skiff. And she's like, well, I've got to try. And she ended up taking her dagger. Sorry, I didn't get a screenshot of it. She took her dagger from him. And I can't remember what they talk about here, but he tells her about how he's, he's been charged over her. Whoa. Oh, and they're talking about the language because she's looking for something. He's like, the only thing is it's in the library, and I can't remember what they call the library, but I don't remember it being an actual place in the mythology. He's like, we have to, it'll take a half day's ride. And she's like, did you say ride or horseback or whatever she says? And I'm like, and he's like, you want to ride or do you want to ride? So they start riding and they do this slow motion and look how stupid she looks on this. She's like, yeah, I get to ride on a horse. I'm so happy. And I'm just like, oh my gosh. I was like, is anybody else watching this bullshit? like, so then they go to this and this is kind of cool, but I'm just like, it doesn't matter. It's in this show. And so Halbrand's talking to this guy. He's like, let me forge something. I'm better than anybody you got in here. And that's because he's Sauron and he's going to help forge the rings of power. Although he gets the one elf guy to help him, Celebrimborn to help him. And he's like, you can't do it without this badge. You need to be a part of the guild, son. So then these guys who are part of that guild, they start making fun of him. They're like, he brought the elf. And he starts like kind of like giving it back a little bit. So they sit down because they're all like, he's like, listen. He's like, I don't want any trouble kind of thing. And he's like, this round's on me. So they're drinking. He's like, all right. He's like, I'm going to go now since you guys think good of me and everything. And he leaves. So then he steals this guy's badge. And I just go, like, that guy wouldn't know that you stole a badge, dude. Like, come on. I'm like, you're the new guy on the island. You don't think everybody talks? Like, everybody doesn't know who's in their guild? But I'm like, whatever, it's fine. So they're like, you think you get away with that? And he's like, no. And they start to hit him. And then he gets into a fight. He breaks one dude's arm, knocks this dude out, yada, yada. And he gets arrested. So she's in this library. And this one, she talks about how she's like, Elrond helped build this library, or his brother or whatever. I can't remember. And they're like something about how the elves used to be able to come on to this island, but there's this something about like they just kept denying ships more and more until elves weren't allowed on the island anymore. And so they give him the symbol, and then he brings them back all they had. She's like, I've seen this before, but it's not a symbol. It's a part of the map. And it's Mordor. This is Mordor right here. And she's like, it's a land where evil will not just grow, but it will thrive, and everything. And I'm like, all right, come on. So, and then we see all this, and they make you think that this is like the orcs and stuff, but it's actually the hobbits or the Harfoots, and they're having their little stupid celebration. The Harfoots in this episode, worst scenes. I hate the Harfoots. I hate going back to them. I hate being with them. I hate their whole storyline. I hate it. It's so stupid and so nonsensical. I just hate it. I'm all like, please just kill them now. Please. Orcs show up. Some wargs or werewolves, whatever it is that's going to show up. I'm like, eat them. So his foot is not getting any better. And she's like, we're going to get left behind. And he's like, listen. It's like, when I lost my rose, I thought there was no light at the end of a tunnel. And then I saw you. And you were the most beautiful thing I'd ever laid eyes on. He's like, we'll stay at the front of the line so we won't get left behind. And Nori will come up with something. She's a lot smarter than you think. And I'm like, is she though? Is Nori really that smart? Because I don't think she's that smart. Oh, and then her friend's like, I'm going to stop you. And then she's like, listen, we have to get into that book to see where their stars are. Now, listen, I don't know about you, but if I needed information and I went to this Hobbit guy and I was like, hey, I need to look at your book so I can see some star charts. And he said, no, I'd be like, listen, dude, I'm not asking. So you're going to let me look into this book, or I'm going to go get my wizard friend over here and he's going to turn you into mush. Now move aside before I break your hip, old man. So you have options. Not many, though. Okay. But she's like, I don't want to help him. And she's like, too bad. I'm helping him. So she goes and opens this book. And then the guy shows up. And then there's this stupid little thing of left, right. And then trying to make into the speech. It's so stupid. I hate it. So then they're talking about all the Harfoots that have been left behind. And they start telling their names and telling stories about it. And I'm all like, well, why did you guys leave him behind? I'm all like, because this is the thing. This guy's got just a sprained ankle. Put him on the cart and then have everybody help, because I was watching their little caravan and some people they were carrying like a basket. And I'm all like, why doesn't that person give the dude him or her basket and help with the cart while he sits on it? Yeah, it's a little extra weight, but you just want to leave your fellow hobbits behind? What kind of a culture is this? Like fuck you, fend for yourself. Like the Harfoots are not cheerful. They're brutal as shit, and I don't like them. They're boring as stuff too. I can't stand them. And then he talks about how, like, if anyone's left behind tomorrow, we'll write your name down and we'll remember you. And I'm like, okay, big freaking deal. I don't care. I want to live. So the wizard shows, Gandalf shows up. This has to be, I don't know what's going on here. It's so stupid. Watch, it's not Gandalf. It's a made up wizard. That wouldn't surprise me with this dumb show. And he sees this, but he brings it towards a fire. As soon as he brought it towards the fire, the pages, I was like, oh, they're gonna get lit on fire, because this show's like plays into these stupid tropes or whatever. I can't remember what they're called. It's not tropes, but anyways. So it lights on fire, and I was like, of course it did, because this show is bad writing all the way around, like such bad writing. He's like, oh, like a caveman, friend. So they see him. He knocks over this thing and he pops his head out, and they all see him, and then they're yelling at Nori, and then this hooker right here, of course, it's always a woman. She's like, our law state, if you bring a stranger into the camp, you have to be left behind. And she's freaking out, right? So Nari's freaking out. And then he's all like, listen, she's young, so they can still go with us, but they have to stay at the end of the pack, back of the pack. And they're like, at the back of the pack, and he's like, we need to talk about this. And she's like, you've doomed us. He can't walk and everything. So the wizard sees all this, and he's all like, oh no, I ruined their chances and everything. So then there's a little puppet show going on in Numenor, and he sits down with his two kids. By the way, this girl right here, this daughter, not real, not in the books at all. I know I said I wouldn't bring up the books and act like I knew what I was talking about, but it's not a thing. It's not in the books, like, at all. And so I just don't know why that maybe they wanted to bring female energy, but I'm all like, there's enough female energy, trust me. And then this is where he says the line, the past is the past, let it die. And if you knew this character, he would not say something like that, because Elendil, he is the most faithful to the Valinor. And I'm just like, why would you make him say stuff like this that is so out of character? And his son tells him, he's like, I want to take a little break from being a sailor. And he's like, but you're so close. And he's like, and he's got other aspirations. He wants to be a soldier, which is fine. And so he's upset because he wants to be a sailor. Although Elendil is not a sailor, or at least I don't think he was. I don't remember any of that stuff from it. I was just like, I don't think he's a sailor. I think they just made this up. It's fine, whatever. So then I can't remember what the Isildur says, but then he's like, it wasn't my fault. And she's like, it really wasn't his fault. And he's like, I'm not talking to you. And I was like, oh, he just told you, bitch. And so then he's this woman comes up, she's like, Captain. He's like, what? And he's like, I have a message for your daughter. And she goes off, and then she's like, I've been accepted. And he's like, in what? And she's like, into college. I want to be an architect. And you're like, okay, great. And everything. What? Girl power. So then back at the prison, or the jail, she's talking to him. She's like, that's not your symbol. You lied. And he's all like, I took it off somebody's body. And she talks about how there could be a great uniter of the men in the Southlands. And he could be it. And he's all like, I'm not what this is not the leader you are looking for. Yeah, because he's Sauron. He's fooling everybody. That's the thing. He's a shapeshifter. And at one point he does change into a beautiful man or whatever. It's so stupid. It's fine. When he goes to, this is probably what he's going to go to the elves to get them to forge the rings of power, which from what I understand, we won't see this season. But he's like, I'm not the leader you're looking for. So then back at this tower right here. Oh, they talked about the king of old and how he was pushed out by his people, but now he just sits in this tower. And so she, Muriel, she goes up there and she's like, Father, what you have talked about has happened. The elf has come to the island. And it's like, dun, dun, dun. I'm like, oh, who cares? So then these guys are walking along and they can't keep up with the caravan. And I'm like, of course they can't. And the caravan's just so happy-go-lucky. They literally do not give a shit about their own people. Like, that's how crazy it is. Like, no man left behind. These aren't trolls. These are assholes. They're real trolls. Except with this one, they just let people die in the wilderness and stuff. It's ridiculous. The Harfoots suck. They suck hardcore. And this fat one is all like coming to see, and they're like, "Oh, you're gonna get left behind." And then the wizard comes out, and he's like, "Friend," and then he helps them. He's like, "This is how we're gonna keep up with the caravan," and he helps them, and they push it along. And then there they are, and there's the caravan, and this is all nice right here. It's all nice. It looks pretty, but so in the orcs, they attack the orcs and everything. Does his little footwork here, and they take him down. I like this, how they stomped him, and they're like, ching, 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 to break their chains. Break your chains. The orcs come out and everything, and they're all gonna do it and stuff. And then this guy, this elf, he gets up there and dies because he gets an axe to the back. This guy gets pulled into the thing, help me, and everything. And the orcs, again, looking very cool. And then they're pulling and stuff. And then they're fighting. He jumps up here, bad wire work, because he's all like, tink, tink, and everything. Which I just want to say real quick. Y'all want to bring up Legolas taking down that Oliphant in the third movie, Return of the King. I just want to say right now, that first episode, because some people have mentioned it to me more than once, that she like Legolas took down an Oliphant in Return of the King. Yeah, but if you remember in the first one, it took like 9 people to take down a whole cave troll, and 9 elves and the 1 elf, and then the 9 elves in that one couldn't take down a snow troll, but Galadriel magically, deliciously, in 20 seconds took down a snow troll. Get the fuck out of here with that argument. I don't want to hear it. With that bad wire work. The wire work in this is awful, and they spent so much money. Fix it up. Come on. So then they're all like, son, Magwai. So then they release the warg, and then the warg comes out. Look at this ugly warg. Like, what? What is that? It's so ugly. I'm like, ugh. It eats this woman. It eats this dude. They capture in here. He gets free, but then he kills the warg. Because if they can see the tree, like if they can get to the tree line, then they can see where they're at and they can send help. But he gets up here and he gets taken down by an arrow, and then he gets killed. Then he gets put back into the thing, and they're like, no, wait, he must meet Adar. And they all keep talking about Adar, like they worship Adar. And like, Adar. And then Adar here, this is Adar. And it's all blurry. You can't see him. And this is the end of the episode. Adar is a dark elf. He's a bad guy. He's an elf leading the orcs. And this is all, they're trying to make you think that probably that everybody else but Hillebrand is Sauron. But Hillebrand's Sauron. That's just how it is. He's Sauron. He's the bad guy. And that's the end of the episode, you guys. This episode was not good. It was boring. And I don't understand how anybody could like this show. Like, if this was not Lord of the Rings, I don't think people would tune in for this nonsense. But because it's Lord of the Rings, because they put Lord of the Rings on there and they have all these characters in there from Lord of the Rings, everybody's like, oh, I have to tune in because it's Lord of the Rings. I watch it because I need the content, but you guys, it's bad writing. It's bad writing. It's such bad writing. Why are we settling for bad writing? Like House of the Dragon is good, but it's not the best. It's not the like I'm House of the Dragon. Like I always say it's good, but that's just because we're starved for good television. That is the best we're getting. And that could be better, but it's still good. Compared to this, it's a freaking Oscar winner. I'll tell you that right now. That's my thoughts and my rant on this episode. It wasn't good. It was better than episode 2, but about the same as episode 1. Just big snooze fest. And I just don't feel like there was enough because they are slogging along. I feel like they could have wrapped this crap up and they could probably busted this down by like 3 episodes and made it 6 episodes. Put more money back into 1 episode. I mean, you spent enough as is. So, all right, you guys, that's the end of my video. Tell me what you guys thought about this. Did you like this episode? Did you not like this episode? You know, who's your favorite character? What was your favorite scene in this episode? Go ahead and leave all your comments in that section down below. If you like this video, go and hit that like button. I won't mind. If you're new to my channel, please hit that subscribe button. I'd greatly appreciate it. And I will see you guys on my next Rings of Power breakdown and review. You guys have a good day. Bye.